partir de este momento, lo invitamos a descubrir un lugar para explorar el mundo de hoy. Un lugar donde los hechos son mostrados tal cual ocurren. Bienvenido. Aquí comienza Infinito Docs por Infinito. Realidad que supera la ficción.
Llegué a Inglaterra, un país de marinos, músicos y poetas que llegó a dominar el mundo con precisión y crueldad. El viejo león cansado aún conserva sus garras y es uno de los centros financieros del mundo. Las bolsas del planeta están atentas a los mensajes que llegan desde la isla. Para eso viajé a Londres, a descifrar el futuro que se dibuja entre las hebras del té. Dios, que mantiene sus oficinas financieras en Nueva York y Londres, habló in cátedra a través de la consultora Goldman Sachs en el ensayo Dreaming with BRICS, donde reconoce que Brasil, Rusia, India y China han cambiado sus sistemas políticos para abrazar el capitalismo global. Goldman Sachs predijo que China e India serán los proveedores globales de tecnología y de servicios. Brasil y Rusia, por su lado, serán los mayores proveedores de materias primas y alimentos del mundo. Se presume así que el paso siguiente será la cooperación dentro del BRIC. Quien puso la marca del nuevo imperio fue Jim O'Neill.
Mr. O'Neill, where is he? Here. Okay.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Hasta junio del 2009 los efectos del BRIC resultaron previsibles. Ascenso de Jim O'Neill e interesante cotilleo sobre el asunto en la incubadora de las revistas académicas.
The BRIC countries, generally speaking, are the ones that are leading the world recovery. Over the past decade, domestic demand from the 4 BRIC countries has already been stronger than domestic demand from the US. Results in a very new state of affairs, because it is a very unusual state of affairs that the strongest parts of the world are from the so-called developing countries. The BRIC countries are probably going to have to be the engine.
El 18 de junio, en la ciudad rusa de Ekaterimburgo, el presidente de Brasil, Lula da Silva, el de China, Hu Jintao, el primer ministro Manmohan Singh de la India y Dmitry Medvedev, el presidente ruso, se reunieron para darle forma a la idea. El listado de las potencias mundiales va a cambiar definitivamente. Brasil, Rusia, India y China, que hoy representan menos del 15% del G6, en menos de 40 años serán las 4 mayores potencias y dominarán el mundo. Decidí encontrarme con O'Neill.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Please.
I'll sit here.
Yes.
So where are you from?
Argentina.
Do you like Tevez?
You like?
Tevez.
Ah, no conozco nada de fútbol. And you like tennis?
I love Manchester United,
Ah, yes, okay, like tennis.
so I hate Tevez.
Bueno, empezamos, Mr. Rick. Mr. Rick.
Okay.
Más o menos, ¿de qué año es el trabajo del BRIC, el primer trabajo del BRIC?
November 2001.
¿Pensó en ese momento que la idea iba a terminar siendo lo que es?
Of course. No. No, not at all. No. It's transformed my life.
¿En qué cosas?
Because everybody wants to talk to me all the time. I used to come into the office, fall asleep, and now I come into the office and everybody wants to ask me about BRICS. I'm joking, of course, but...
¿Esto empezó como un fenómeno de marketing y se transformó en algo académico o al revés?
To be debated further in the future. I created it because of my economics belief. I wrote an article in November 2001 saying the world needs better economic BRICS. And the reason why I did that is at the start of that decade, it was obvious to me that if globalization was going to succeed, it could not just be led by America. And we needed to somehow embrace and think more about the big population developing countries. So I don't think of it as a marketing concept.
¿El BRIC es algo existente o es un invento de marketing de Goldman Sachs?
Well, the answer is that to a certain extent, BRICS is a very clever marketing term because the 4 countries described by BRICS do not really exist as a bloc at the moment. I think the 4 countries are going to become closer and closer. If you look, for example, at how China needs many of the commodities that Brazil produces, there is some incentive for them to cooperate. And what they also share is a desire to be important on the world stage and not reliant on, say, America.
The question of whether it's a brand or a scenario for the future, I think it's probably neither. And it was an extremely interesting idea, but I'm not sure that it could constitute a scenario for the future. Because to say that it's a scenario for the future would say that there were some intrinsic links between these countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. They are disparate, they are different economies with different influences.
По телевизоре будешь, да, будет тебя показывать по телевизору.
Hubo todavía la hay mucha discusión con respecto a qué países están y por qué. Hablemos de eso, de qué países están y por qué.
The reality is, these are 4 countries with very large populations, whose population is seeing its wealth improve quickly and dramatically, and they are becoming increasingly a key part of the modern global economy.
Rusia es el país más grande del mundo, con una superficie de 17 millones de kilómetros cuadrados, el doble que China, donde viven 1.500 millones de habitantes, la quinta parte de la población mundial. Son 136 personas por kilómetro cuadrado. En Rusia hay 140 millones de habitantes, 8 personas por kilómetro cuadrado. India tiene un territorio de 3.3 millones de kilómetros cuadrados con 1.200 millones de habitantes que están mucho más apretados. Hay 375 personas por kilómetro cuadrado. Brasil es el país más grande de Sudamérica, tiene 8.5 millones de kilómetros cuadrados y una población de 200 millones de personas. 23 por kilómetro cuadrado. Los 4 países BRIC ocupan el 25% del planeta y suman más del 40% de la población mundial. Para el año 2050 habrán crecido un 500%.
Easily imagine the 4 countries being leading economies even before 2050, even before.
I think definitely, and I share this viewpoint that it's going to be before 2050. Because for a country to become a superpower or become a leader in the world, it's got to have human capital. And all 4 countries, Brazil, India, Russia and China, have a substantial part of their populations as young people. And with governments investing, in young people, in education and things like that, I think the future is really, really bright.
From my point of view, if Russia will continue this union with Asia, it's going to lead to big success. But to be honest, I really don't agree with this word of superpower country like that. China has been have this really amazing growth rate of GDP for like a decade, but there's still a lot of problems actually.
Soon after I created the BRIC name, I gave a big speech in Rio. There was 1,000 people in the audience, and the person that introduced me, he whispered in my ear, just as I was going to the podium, we all know here that the only reason you introduce B is because without B, there is no phrase. Mm-hmm. Only now, people say, why is the R there? And it's because people always focus on today. In the 8 years since we had the acronym, the increase in Russia's GDP is bigger than India's. Mm-hmm. So why shouldn't the R be there?
Mucho azúcar.
Mucho azúcar.
Sí. ¿Usted es brasileiro?
Brasileiro.
Ah, sí? ¿De dónde?
Do Rio Grande do Sul.
¿Cuánto tiempo lleva aquí, viviendo aquí, morando aquí?
3 anos.
3 años.
3 anos.
Ajá. ¿Y por qué decidió venir?
Decidi. Uma experiência nova, um país novo, e vim pra cá.
Ajá.
Escolhi Londres para morar e ter experiências novas e mais fácil de viajar pelo mundo.
¿Y você pensó alguna vez en morar fuera de Brasil cuando você era um menino?
Sempre.
Nunca
sempre
gostou do país?
Gostava muito, gosto muito do Brasil, mas sempre quis ter essa experiência fora do Brasil.
¿Y cuál es la diferencia, uma das diferenças entre Brasil e Inglaterra?
O clima.
O clima? Claro.
O clima. Todo dia nublado.
Que você fica triste com isso?
Triste, é.
Sim?
Sim.
Tem gente que diz que Brasil vive numa época de despegue econômico, político, e que o país vai transformar-se em uma potência mundial.
Sim, eu acredito.
Você acredita? Sim?
Acredito. Um país muito rico por tudo. Culturalmente, tudo.
Brazil right now is the one that looks the best for two reasons, really. First of all, the only thing which is really new for Brazil the past decade is the success of inflation targeting, which most people don't really realize how important that is. And I think it's really important because the past 30 years, Brazil was complete chaos. The second thing is, this is why I particularly mean it's in some ways the most exciting. Right now, my impression is that 200 million people in Brazil, for the first time in 40 years, start to believe Brazil can be a big, successful society and economy.
Desde 2003, las economías de Brasil, Rusia, India y China generaron el 65% del crecimiento mundial. El poder del lobby de Goldman Sachs terminó marcando la agenda política de 4 países.
¿Cuál es la relación que tiene con los gobiernos de los países? Le pregunto esto porque venimos de una entrevista en el Financial Times a donde una persona en el medio de una conversación dijo la siguiente frase.
I suspect that if Goldman Sachs was starting again now, they might very well not include Russia. But they put Russia there 10 years ago and they're kind of stuck with it for the moment, because to take Russia out would be quite a big blow in terms of Goldman Sachs' relationships with Russian business.
I'm going to give you an exclusive. Yes. I wish I would have never included Russia.
Ah, no?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. Russia has 140 million people that are still coming out of decades of communist life. aspiring to Western levels of standards of living. And we estimate in 30 to 40 years from today, Russia will be 10 times bigger than it is today, which means Russia will be bigger than any other country except the other three BRICS and the US.
And new generation in Russia. Well, as far as I can remember, I mean, I'm a new generation too. So as far as I can remember, over the last 7 years, the lifestyle significantly improved. Well, if we're talking about lifestyle, I would like to say about middle class people, which is this all about.
Or Russian, no?
No, some Russian. Yes.
Which?
This thing, for example. This is possibly Russian. That's it. That's the thing. Sapphire. Diamond.
Yes. Well,
it matches. Yes. You can get it for your lady.
You're Russian.
I am from St. Petersburg.
¿De San Petersburgo?
Leningrad.
Sí, claro. Sí. ¿Cuánto hace que está aquí?
Since mid-70s. Long time.
¿Y no volvió?
Yes, I have. Few times. Well, it's changed, it's changed a lot. It's obviously not communist anymore. But mentality...
Are you sure?
Not so sure. Mentality is still there, a little bit.
Yes.
Cold War, a little bit. Nationalism, a little bit. Yes. Recognizable.
Y el miedo, ¿no?
The fear, sort of a paranoid mentality.
Yes.
They are to get us, they want to get us all the time. So it's still there.
¿Y nunca se imaginó, ahora que dicen que va a ser una de las potencias del mundo nuevamente, en volver?
No. It's quite possible that will be one of the leading countries in the world, but it's not for me, because old habits die hard. And there's a lot of difficulties in Russia. I mean, they've got all the mineral resources, they've got huge amount of infrastructure, but this mentality is still there.
They've changed the economic system dramatically at the beginning of the 1990s. They suffer corruption, they suffer volatility. It's a volatile economy, but that's due to the dramatic change, and that change was all and at once.
I think corruption is a big problem, but as...
I think is, I swear I don't mean to offend you, but I think it's the highest. I think it's bigger than GDP.
Russia clearly has a bad system of corporate governance. It also has really bad demographics, and it's very excessively dependent on energy. All those three reasons probably mean that Russia will grow less than the other three BRICS over the next decade, the next 30 to 40 years. So yes, it's got problems, but as we see in many other countries, the United States has got problems. Corruption, India has corruption, China has corruption. But I don't think it's going to stop Russia becoming a lot bigger than it is today. The BRIC story will only be ultimately successful if we have more hundreds of millions of people in the BRIC economies, particularly India and China, because they're so big, taken out of poverty. According to our latest long-term estimates, by 2050, 40 years' time, India will be 35 times bigger than it is today. And the average wealth of an Indian person will be 30 times bigger.
At least 50, if not 60% of the population is living below poverty level. They are very, very poor. They are living in villages. There is you can look at literacy rate in India is appalling. So they have a long way to go. So if they can feed by 2050, if they can feed all their population, that will be a big achievement.
Y si yo tuviera que sintetizar hasta hoy, ¿qué es lo que yo me imagino del futuro de alguno de esos países? Es miseria más tecnología.
Yes.
¿Es así?
Today, if you go to India, you can go to a high-tech tech campus. In some of the educational places in India which are producing some of the best qualified people in the world, they still have wild animals prowling 1 mile or 2 miles away from the gates of the university.
These are the contrasts you see in India and China, especially in India, that they are, you can see very high-tech offices and buildings and technology, and at the same time you have slums.
El problema en la India es como decía Marc Chagall, el pintor, aun cuando retrocedo avanzo, es como doy 2 pasos para adelante y 1 para atrás, y 2 adelante y 1 atrás, y así. En la India va a crecer la clase media, 90 millones de personas, pero ¿cuánto va a crecer la clase baja en el mismo periodo?
We published some research about 18 months ago that showed in the next 30 years there will be an additional 2 billion people joining the middle class. So leaving poverty to join the middle class. Linked to what you're asking, that is what this story is all about. It is taking people out of poverty and into the middle classes.
Hindi?
Yes, I'm good.
Namaste.
Namaste. How are you? You alright?
¿Cuánto es que está viviendo acá en Londres?
I'm about 14 years.
14 years?
Yeah.
¿De qué lugar de la India es?
Delhi.
Ajá.
Yeah.
¿Y por qué vino?
We just came here like for business.
¿Y volvió en esos años a India?
Before, yes. Once, twice I think so I've been to India.
¿Y cómo encontró el país?
It's good. When I come back here, then I miss them because a lot of their more relatives, friends, look all the parts. So,
hay gente que cree que la India se puede convertir en una de las potencias del mundo.
Yeah, the people I can see that's going growing up very good. The economy is going very good because the people are very high educations and all the companies are going and invest there. That's why the company is growing up and the people are very intelligent. So that's why they're growing up. The policy they're changing, that's the main thing.
Still a very young country. We got independence about 60 years ago. So in fact, today we celebrate the Diamond Jubilee of India becoming a republic. So there are tremendous challenges. There is a lot of poverty, but at the same time, India is doing very well. And let's not forget that, wherever there's poverty, there's tremendous scope for growth as well. So there is, yes, there is a lot of misery, unfortunately. There's a lot of poverty. But that is an opportunity to convert that into something, into growth, into better healthcare, better education for millions and millions of people, which hopefully will be what we'll be seeing, in years to come.
Lo que preguntaría es si el tema de la democracia es o no un valor para los BRICS.
We look at lots of issues to do with corruption. We do look at corruption. We look at stability of government. We look at the rule of law. But no, we don't look at democracy or absence of democracy, which I know is very controversial. But if you take the difference between China and India, so far, since 1980, which is better? democratic India or autocratic China? You speak to many business people. Which country would you rather do business? 9 out of 10 would say easy, China.
El Estado de Derecho tiene que ver con el sistema político. El cumplimiento de las obligaciones de los Estados tiene que ver con el carácter que cada Estado tiene para gobernar. También es más fácil que una dictadura rompa un contrato que la rompa un parlamento.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You speak to many people that do business in India, or if you spend a lot of time in India,
yes,
there is an enormous amount of corruption in India. And you could probably argue, obviously you can definitely say, India is the biggest democracy in the world.
Yes.
Maybe...
This is a slogan. Okay.
Yes, but does India's democracy give India advantages over China? No democracy means the possibility of a major central decision going wrong is high. But in terms of dealing with challenges quickly, maybe not being a democracy for a developing country is good. I often say to people that this crisis, the global credit crisis, maybe has had some good for the world because it forced China quickly to come up with a huge policy response. And we see today, 1 year later, Chinese growth is still very, very strong. If China was a democracy, maybe they couldn't have done that.
I don't agree with that. I think democracy is the only insurance for stability. People know what they want, and regular people, they want jobs, they want to feed their children, put them through education, and they have their own demands, and people's demands are for stability. They want to see 20 years ahead, and that's why I think democracy is crucial.
Well, there have been world powers in the past that were not democratic, and I suspect there will be in the future. I suppose the real question is whether the Chinese model of state capitalism is sustainable over the long term, or whether it will have to adjust. And if it does adjust, will that adjustment be gradual and peaceful, or will it involve the sort of turmoil that we've seen in China in the past?
People actually, in China, people actually appreciate this government. They love this government because, China is really a young country. It's only, we just celebrated the 60th birthday, and now we can have whatever we want. That's the difference, that's the change. Because we can have better life, because we are progressing, we have amazing growth rate, so people have no reason to complain.
¿Qué es esto? ¿Pato a la laca? ¿Y esto es cerro? Ajá. ¿Cuánto es que está acá en Londres?
1991年
¿Y en su momento por qué vino?
我係勞工移民嚟嘅。
¿Usted tenía trabajo o vino a buscar?
唔係，係佢請我過嚟嘅。
¿Conocía algo del mundo occidental antes de venir?
我都有參考過啲資料嘅國家嘅，因為英國比較適合我哋，因為我哋係香港人，因為本身係英國係殖民地嚟噶嘛。
¿Y pensó en volver alguna vez a China en sus años?
退休或者會。
Hay quienes dicen que China va a ser la potencia del futuro, que va a ser el país más importante del mundo en el futuro. ¿Qué piensa sobre eso?
係呢個係一定，將來一定中國好強。
¿Existe la posibilidad de hacer un número que se cuente desde el momento que ellos empezaron a hablar del BRIC hasta hoy, con respecto a cómo aumentaron las inversiones hacia los países integrantes del BRIC? Le pregunto eso porque quiero saber cuál es su porcentaje.
I'd like to know. Somebody told me 3 years ago that the value of the BRIC brand was about $10 billion. 8 years to 10 years, a very large amount of the world's FDI has gone to the BRIC countries. So if I deserve some credit for a little bit of that, I'll take it.
Las noches, quando antes de você ir a dormir, que recuerdos tem, que saudades tem de seu país?
Do meu país, eu tenho muita saudade da minha família. Eu queria ter eles aqui comigo, mas essa não existe essa opção. Da vida no Brasil, da felicidade do povo brasileiro, é bem diferente daqui.
¿Qué extraña de la India? ¿Qué extraña la noche antes de irse a dormir de su casa?
There is missing means that you can miss your proper culture. We can see that same culture in England as well, but the same culture what was there, you can't get same exactly there, but it still is good. It's better here as well.
因為中國始終係我哋嘅根，我哋黃炎祖炎黃最子孫。點解咧？我哋係點啊？因為我哋讀書嗰時都讀中國嘅歷史，係咪？知道中國點樣係點樣變咗一個係強大嘅中國啦又。
Y cuando está acá en Inglaterra después de tantos años y se tiene que acordar de una sola cosa de Rusia, ¿de qué se acuerda antes de irse a dormir?
I'm an immigrant. It was a difficult time to leave the country, and everybody who left the country was a traitor. When my father died, I was not allowed even to go there and bury him, and that I'll never forget.
conoce todos los 4 países del BRIC?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
When I go to some of these places, they want my autograph. No, they do. It's embarrassing. Okay. In China, especially. When I give a talk in Beijing or Shanghai, afterwards there's people saying, "Please sign." I'm like, I'm not like a footballer, you know. I'm just like an economist. But no. People from these countries are very happy that we have highlighted their importance. It's true in all four of them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Recién ahora empieza el viaje. Viajar no es solo moverse de un lugar a otro. Viajar es viajarse, viajar en uno mismo. Descubrir dónde está el viaje en mí. Viajando conozco a los demás y me conozco, me viajo. Sergio está triste porque en Londres nunca hay sol. Boris habla de su padre muerto en Moscú. Xiu sabe que será chino, vaya donde vaya. Y Surbier sueña en agrandar el negocio de telas. Estoy dejando atrás sueños ajenos, pero vivo esos sueños como propios. Recién ahora empiezo el viaje. Iré a Brasil, Rusia, India y China. Trataré de encontrar el nuevo mundo. Ni ustedes ni yo seremos los mismos al volver.